Hello, this is Summer Art Academy at the Knoxville Museum of Art. My name is Donna Anderson and I'll be doing Art Extravaganza Part 2 today. Now this is geared for 5 to 6 year olds, but you know, if you're older than that, just make it a little more complicated. It'll be fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to build on some skills that we used on the Part 1 section. And this will be a finished product. This will also be a finished product. And it's going to be an abstract drawing. We're going to talk about wax resist, about bleeding, about warm colors and cool colors. We're going to talk about dark and light areas. And at the end of it, you'll come up with a pretty good picture, I think. All right, I'm going to use 9 by 12 inch paper. It's cardstock. The part that I have, it's a little stiff. If you want to use 8.5 by 11 computer paper, that works out fine. So no problem there. If you'll remember yesterday, we used a black marker and we made lines with a black marker. Dots, dashes, squares. And after we used the black marker, we took a paintbrush and water and went over that. And look, it makes it bleed. See how it'll come out? And then you get a wash. See the wash and see how it travels? You can see the paper and the water on the paper traveling. Okay, so then today what we're going to do is we're going to use a white crayon. And when we use this white crayon, I know that you can't see it on the camera, but as soon as we use the white crayon and we take some of this and go over it, look what happens. It stays white. But the part around it has a wash. And why would you think you'd call it a wash? Well, it's water and it's not as dark as the original. So it's kind of washed out. Have you heard that example stated before? So it's a little bit lighter. So you're going to have this on your paper too. So what I'd like you to do to get ready for this is to do a paper with crayon. Now I've already done this with crayon and you can't even see it, can you? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do with the marker on this piece of paper what I've done with crayon on this piece of paper. So it's going to be, I want you to do a zigzag all the way across with a white crayon, and then I want you to do a curved line all the way across. Okay, then I want you to do dots. Okay, then after the dots I want you to do dashes. See, there's a space between each line. Okay, after you do dashes, you're just going to do vertical little lines. And if it's not even, it doesn't matter. This is just for you, so you can see how it's going to come out. Squares. And then I want you to color in kind of a solid area here. Now if you'll notice, my marker is not really dark, is it? It's like one of those markers that's almost used up. But although it's almost used up, you saw how it looked when I put the water on top of it. When I put the water on top of it, it worked just fine. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, after you do the solid, then I want you to do just a scribble. So that you just kind of scribble across there. So you can see how that looks. And then after you scribble, I want you to take and do curlicues. Just like that. And then at the bottom of the paper, I want you to write your name, just in capital letters. So D-O-N-N-A, Donna. Okay, now this is what's on this paper. All right, so after you get it on this paper with a white crayon, and you can do it with the marker too if you want to, I want you to make sure that you press down really hard. You want it to be really waxy. And why would I want it to be really waxy? Yes, you're right. So that it will resist what else you put down. So let's choose a cool color. Cool colors are blue and green. Blue like the sky, green like the grass. And warm colors would be red and orange. Red would be like a fire when it's really hot. It's red. The orange would be like the sunshine. Yellow would also be a warm color. So think about it that way and you can remember which is which. So we're going to use the black in our picture and then we're going to use one of the markers. But for right now, I'm going to choose the blue. Now what I can do is take and dip it in water and look. You can see it. Okay, now I don't even have to have it show up really dark. If you had a marker that was just a really good marker, I have these so that they can be put in water. Don't put yours in water. But what we can do is after we put it on there, we can take and brush across it. And look at that. You can see where I had the crayon. Okay, so why don't we use a different color? We'll use a green. We'll use it on the next line. So if you've got a marker that marks better, then you can see that you can see it right through it. You don't even have to paint over it. But you can still paint over it. It'll make it show up a little better. So if I run a line across there, you can see that. We could also use a purple. A purple can be either warm or cool. Now I've kind of missed my dots, haven't I? Let me go back up there and get those. And then we'll put the water in it too. And you'll notice when you brush across it, it'll wipe off the marker that was marked on top of that. It wipes it off a little better so that it shows up better. But you have to press down hard. If you'll look right here, you can see I didn't press the crayon down very hard. Okay, so let's go to red. Maybe not. There we go. And this is going to be a wash. Remember I told you a wash is a lot lighter than the color that you use, so this is going to be a light color. Okay, and then if I can go back and take and brush through it, you can see right here my vertical lines that are across and then my squares. Now the next one, I'm going to use my black marker again. So I have 3 rows right here. And then we'll brush across those. And where we colored it solid with the white crayon, then it's going to stay white. And here, you can see the curlicues and the scribble and the solid and the squares and the verticals and the dashes and the dots and the curvy and the zigzag. And then down here at the bottom, remember, we wrote our name. Ta-da! So now you see exactly what's going to happen in your picture. Now if I take this picture that I had all the different designs on and paint on top of it, I can take a crayon, a white crayon, and outline around these. But you have to press down really hard. And when you outline around it and just leave the mark there, then you'll get a whole different look to it. You'll get an outline. And be careful, if your hand's wet, it'll make it smear like it did there. But you don't need a little tiny brush, and you don't need to be really careful. You just need to go across it with water. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. And that's kind of cool looking too. So now you have a dark area and you've got a light area. So it makes it stand out a lot more. All right? So why don't you go now and practice those things, do these 2 papers, and then when you come back, we'll do our picture for today. Okay, so you should have all of these different designs done with white crayon, and then you should have practiced putting the different colors of marker on top of it. If you have newer markers, then they would have shown up better. But I still think these are kind of cool. If we take this and rub it a little bit, it shows up a little better. You probably can't put the white marker back on top of it and it'd be white because the paper's already been stained. But that's okay. Now don't rub too hard. That's another thing I need to tell you because you don't want to mess up your paper. Okay, so now we're going to do our picture. Now I've already started one. Here it is. And what I was thinking about, and what I want you to think about when you're doing this, is a roadway, or a trip, or a map. And what I'm thinking is that you can have some crazy roads and trails, and you could even have footprints if you wanted to. Now, if you'll notice, this corner doesn't have anything in it. None of the corners do. You can go almost to the corner, but don't go to the corner. That's not a good design thing. So just keep in mind not to go to the corner. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to try to draw it pretty much like this. So if I have a line that goes here, and that could be like a bridge. And then I can put a zigzag here, and I can put lines here. And I kind of want it to go around in a curve. So I'm going to curve it around this way and then go off the paper, not at the corner, but before I got to the corner. Okay? And then I could have this line to go up through here, not at the corner. And then here I can add a little bit more and color it in. Don't you just love that sound? Squeaky, 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 squeaky. Okay, and then we'll have some little straight lines, some little squares, circles, fill those circles in. So we'll have a lot of ink there to be able to put water on. And I'll show you a couple of different ways to do that. Okay, let's put some more squares. And a zigzag. And then we'll go around this way. Now, do you see this little stuff here? If you put your hand on the marker before it dries, then you'll get it on the side of your hand. So a good way to take care of that is to get another sheet of paper and lay another sheet of paper down so that you can put your hand on it. And that way you won't end up smearing the paper. On this one it won't matter because we're going to use a brush and make washes and then draw on top of it some more. But sometimes it will matter. Okay, so we're going to take this and look, we're going to follow this down and around and have maybe a turnpike go this way. And we'll put some dots on it. All right, and let's color this in. Wait, let me put my paper there so I don't mess it up. Now, this is just my idea, and that's why I'm doing it again, so that you can see it in black and white and then see it when we work on it a little more. But you might think of something else. I was thinking of an interstate, and then I also was thinking of stepping stones and a bridge maybe. But on maps, they have all kinds of little things. You could even have little bird feet if you wanted to. I could put little bird feet here. Of course, by the time I put water on them, they probably won't look like bird feet. But you can do like little footprints or whatever you want to do. Oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll put some here too. But keep in mind that this is your picture. You don't have to do the picture I'm doing. You can do your own picture, and you have all those practice designs that you could do. Okay. And then it just stops. That works. All right. Now I'm going to take my crayon again. And if your crayon gets to where it's too far down, just take and peel it off. You don't have to have this paper on to know that it's a white crayon. The paper does help support it though. If you hold it up here and press too hard, it'll break. But you know, sometimes I just break them so it's a smaller piece and it's easier to handle. So, you know, that's not a problem. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take and put some outlines around this because I kind of like the way that looked before. And remember, we have to make it really, really heavy. We have to press down really hard. So see, my finger is right there pressing on it, and I'm holding really close to the end. Because if I don't hold close to the end, then it'll snap my crayon. Okay, and then I'm going to put a line between all of these so that this looks like it's a complete path. And then I'm going to color in each one of these little squares, the boxes that are here. Now, as you're doing this, you can think about how it might look black and white, or you can just be surprised. I'm going to put it between these so that it stays together. In fact, I think I'm going to put a line that goes all the way up there. And see, it broke. Not a problem. I'll just peel some more paper off. But that means that I was pressing down hard, right? So that's a good thing. All right. So we're going to put a line here and a line here. Now you probably can't see where these lines are, can you? Now I'm going to color across this because I want those little footsteps to stay there. And if I color across it, it should keep the ink from bleeding. Then we're going to put a line on this side. Now here I'm going to have some lines coming out. Maybe those are parking places. Now you know this doesn't look exactly like parking places or roads or paths or footprints, but that's what you have in mind when you're doing this. And why is it abstract? Have you thought about that? Does it look like anything you've seen before? No, not really. It's not representational, and it doesn't look just like a person or a landscape or a still life. So it has shapes, it has lines, it has dark and light areas. All right. And I'm going to color over these little footprints too. Now remember, if we don't put the white down now, it'll get covered up. So I'm still going to put some more right here. I'm going to put a zigzag right here. And I'm going to put some lines between each one of these circles, the dots. And if I've already put it on there, it doesn't matter. We'll make it work. You need to make some decisions while you're doing this, and you can decide ahead of time what you're going to do, but once you start working on your picture, sometimes you change your mind, and that's okay too, because you decide what looks better and what you like better. Okay. So I think that's all I'm going to put on there with white. All right. I'm going to get my brush wet, and I'm going to go on here. And then let it go out some. Notice if you'll take the brush and wet it right next to it, it lets it go into all kinds of nice little designs. So we'll let that go. And then I think I'm just going to put a dot on top of each one of those dots and see what happens there. Cool. And where I had the footprints, it worked. Look, if you cover it up and then put the water on top, you can still see where you put that. Let's see if it worked here. Didn't have enough water. Oh, it did, look. And then these other colors go through there. Okay, what if we go down through here? Where I had the crayon, it stayed white. Let's put a little more water here. So those are kind of like pathways, aren't they? Around here. Now remember we talked about dark and light. So you'll notice that there's a lot of dark areas, but we still have some light areas there. Where you've had to put the white crayon, it has let it stay white so that the paper is not even covered with the designs from it. So let's take a little more, put some more water out here. Remember I outlined that. And then right here, it's almost like parking places, isn't it? And then all the squares are right. And then I put more squares there. It's like a surprise every time you go across it. Okay. All right, now on this one, I didn't put any color yet, but I can. We can let this dry a little, or we can use it while it's still wet. But what we can do is take one of our colors, and since I used orange on this first one, I think I'm going to use blue on this one. So if I take the blue and add some of it into the water, I can dip it in the water. Some places though, I really like just the way the black marker looks. But as you dip it in there, look at the color that comes out. We can put some more here. Okay, now if you notice I just covered that up. I didn't really want to do that. So I'll go back with my paintbrush and I'll brush across it again. And look, it shows up. And you can also take another piece of paper and just press it down on top of it and pick up some of that. See, I can pick up some of the water that's on it and make it show up better. Pretty cool. All right, so there we are. Now, my picture, I have 2 of those, and I also have what I started with, which was this one. So you can see that I've made 3 pictures, and they're pretty similar the way they're drawn. But you've got a really different feeling about it. This one is a little harsher and this one's a little softer, I think. But when you make your picture, you can make that decision. And if you wanted to draw a picture of your pet or of your house or of a flower, you could do that too and use this same technique. So I hope you've had a good time with this. Okay, we finished our project. So you should have a project that looks something like this. You can turn it this way, or this way, or this way, or this way. And here was the first one I showed you. That's mine. Now yours may not look exactly like this, and that's okay. But you now have some skills. And what did we learn how to do? We learned how to draw with line, and the lines were zigzags, dots, dashes, squares, okay? Then we used our water on top of the marker to make it bleed. So we have some bleed marks right in here. We also used the water and the brush to put some areas like this where there's a wash, okay? And then we decided whether we were going to make our picture cool, which would be like this, which would be blue or green, or warm, which would be orange or red, or purple, could be either way. It could be warm or cool. And then also we decided we were going to have it about half black and half white, so that you'd have dark and light. This could have a little more dark in it, or it could have a little more white in it. There's kind of a medium color here. This one is pretty balanced. So we talked about those things. So now that you've had this lesson, I want you to go and do another one. Think about what you want to do this time. And it doesn't have to be the same subject matter that we used. You can do anything you want. But I appreciate you being here, and I know that you've done a fine job. You're an artist. What else is there?